Good evening, once again, everyone. It's 9 o'clock. Welcome to our regular Friday training sessions. We are going to be covering two roles as usual. The other people will join us as we proceed. People that wanted to be here and learn more about if you want to play the role better, feel free to, at the moment. We'll be done by 9:30. Personally, for me, tabletop one segment of every Toastmasters meeting. That's my own preference. For Table Topics Master, what exactly are you responsible for? How can you play that role effectively? And I'm going to break this down into two parts. Before the meeting, during the meeting. Now, before the meeting, what should you do? Before the meeting, please find out the structure of the agenda, the theme of the meeting, especially if it's not your club. Many of us today, it's easier to visit other clubs, and I do recommend that you please visit other clubs. You learn so much. When you visit other clubs, especially for the first time, things are run, you need to also find out the theme of the meeting. Why is this important? You want to choose questions that ideally align with the theme of the meeting. You also want to know how much time is available to you. Why is this important? Let's take the example of having a meeting that is just happened. It means you have a lot of time. You need to ensure you have enough questions that will cater to the time that has been allotted to you. Note, even when you're given maybe 10 minutes, by the way, 10 minutes, you can take a maximum of 4 questions, maybe even 3. Table topics is 1 time for introduction and time for conclusion. That will take away 2 minutes, depending on how you speak, maybe more, which leaves a maximum of 4 minutes. And the reason I'm saying maximum is because you need to account for the transition time in between speakers. Realistically, about 3 speakers. Even though you're thinking you're preparing for maybe 3 speakers, have more questions prepared in advance. Very important. Why should you do this? At a Toastmasters meeting, like life, really the only thing that is constant is change. You may have scheduled for maybe 4 speakers, usually doesn't happen. An ideal meeting that goes for 1 to 2 hours, you probably have maybe 3 speakers. And something occurs and you end up having 2 speakers. You'll want to fill up the extra time. The easy way to do that is get more table topic speakers. And the fun part of that is you can engage more guests, which is why they will even encourage having more table topic speakers. If you have only prepared 3 questions and you are allotted more time, depending on your experience, it may seem a bit jarring for you. You don't want that. If you come over prepared with easy, all you have to do is call up more speakers and ask from the extra list of questions you have. Very simple. So as I stated, get the agenda, know the theme, prepare the questions in advance. Some tips for the questions: it needs to be clear, meaning when you state that question, it's easy to understand, and it doesn't hurt to try it with some people in advance. It needs to be concise. Don't make it so lengthy that by the time you get to the end, you don't even remember what you said at the very beginning. This is my personal preference. Let it be something fun, something chill, relaxing. Don't let it be so tied into a niche, very specific, maybe engineering, politics. At Toastmasters, generally, we stay away from politics. But anything that is focused on a specific area, that if you're not working in that area, or if you're not interested in that area, you may feel uncomfortable or ill-equipped to answer, please stay away from that. I have attended numerous meetings where a Toastmaster or a guest is called up and the question is asked to that person. And they think about it and they say, I don't know. As the table topics master, please, you don't want to ask a question because it is so streamlined to one field, one area, that the speaker says, I don't know. Let it be a question that you know 90%, 95, 99.99% of people you ask that question to will definitely have a response for you. These are some of the things you should be thinking about in advance as the table topics master. And then come up with creative ways. You can use objects. You can use maybe a PowerPoint presentation. There's no limit to how creative you can get for the table topics. You just need to prepare in advance. Because even the way you ask the question can encourage people to want to speak for that portion of the meeting. And also before the meeting, come up with a brief description of what you do as the table topics master and what table topics is all about. I have gone to meetings where the table topics master comes up and in their introduction, they say, I am so happy that I am the table topics master because that means I don't get to speak. It is so scary to speak during table topics. Table topics master, why would you do that? After you say something like that for your introduction and you call up someone, or maybe you say, do we have any volunteers? Honestly, how many people do you think will volunteer after you've scared them about how scary this portion is and how you, the person anchoring it, you're happy you're the anchor so you don't get to speak? Prepare something that will make them feel excited to speak about table topics. Table topics portion of the meeting is a fun portion of the meeting. The best portion. I'm so sad that I get to play the table topics master because I don't get to speak. You have the opportunity to speak for a minimum of 1 minute and a maximum of 2 minutes. I'm going to give you the topic and then you get to speak. Relax. They are very simple topics. Speak. We're all here to encourage one another. We're here to learn, and it's going to be so much fun. I guarantee you want to speak again after you get the opportunity to speak today. See, that idea that it's fun, it's relaxed, we're not judging you, be part of it. That is the type of introduction you want. And please make it clear, especially if you have numerous guests. Minimum of 1 minute, maximum of 2 minutes. Prepare this introduction before the meeting. Now, on the day of the meeting, what happens? Please come early, engage with members, engage with guests. Generally, for members, we can call anyone, preferably someone that is not playing a role or speaking at that meeting. And for a volunteer, before the meeting starts, why is this important? When you ask for volunteers during the meeting, when you're already anchoring the table topics portion of the meeting, people may be slow to volunteer. That's taking away time. Just to have the introduction because you're trying to get volunteers. All this can be avoided by simply getting volunteers before the meeting starts. Remember, the way you're speaking to them will either encourage them to speak or persuade them to run far away from speaking during the table topics portion of the meeting. So speak to them, let them know how much fun it is, that they can speak freely. It's not a place we're going to do own speech that they want to focus on. Just persuade them to want to speak. Write down their names. And then when it comes to the table topics portion of the meeting, have your introduction clearly stating what table topic is all about, how much time they have, and then you call on the names that you've penned down in advance, starting with a Toastmaster to set the tone, and then fluctuating between a Toastmaster and a guest. Note I said fluctuating. Please do not limit it to guests. A number of us, based on my experience, like to say this is a portion just for guests. I disagree, because you're training people to speak extemporaneously. Members, we want to learn that. It is a critical skill to have. Do not steal that opportunity away from us by focusing on guests. When we have paid, call on members as well as guests to enjoy the session called Table Topics, because they get to learn a lot. Please, if you're playing this role, do not just call the guests. Call both members and guests. If there's a way to even prioritize members. If you're doing 5, do 3 members, 2 guests. That's my personal experience. We have paid, we want to learn, let us benefit from it. And by the time you're done calling everyone, have your conclusion, which you should have prepared in advance. Hand back control to the Toastmaster of the day, and then you are done for your portion of the meeting, the table topics portion. Note, as people are speaking, please pay attention to what they are saying. And from the entire speech they give, which is really brief, you can pick 1 or 2 in a very humorous way or in a very encouraging way. Very brief. Note, it needs to be concise, straight to the point, so you don't use up too much time. It's a powerful way to segue to the next question and also encourage that person to speak next time. Because some people, when they step away from the lectern, they are so scared. All that attention is still there. 1 comment from you may make them feel, wow, I did much better than I thought I did. As a table topics master, please pay attention to that. In summary, that's what you do. Before the meeting, during the meeting, I think you have a very important role to play in your meeting. If it's done well, you can add so much fun, so much excitement, and a lot of learning to any meeting that you get the opportunity to play the role of table topics master. Do we have any questions or comments based on our experience or perhaps what you heard this evening on the role of table topics master? You can type in the chat box, you can raise your hand, and I'll call you, you unmute yourself, ask the question, or make the comment. Because the session is really brief, I may have omitted some very salient points. If there are things you observed, we would all love to learn. We're all here to learn. I am encouraged to do this because I'm learning as well. Please share. And as I stated, if there was something that was confusing, you want to clarify, go ahead and ask the question as well. Thank you so much, Madam Area Director. Nothing to add. Fantastic. Because when people ask the question, I'm going to throw it back at you to answer. So I'm glad that there's nothing to add from your end. I don't see any hands up. I don't see any questions in the chat box. We're going to proceed to the second and final role for this evening, Grammarian. If any question pops up, please feel free to type it in the chat box or just write it down and you can ask at the end when we're done. We'll be done by 9:30. It's okay to ask then. Now we're moving right along to the role of grammarian. The role of grammarian is one of those roles that many of us have this love-hate relationship with, especially myself. Because many of us, English may not be your first language per se, or at a certain point, you stopped progressing in your growth when it comes to the English language. Grammar is always changing, and you need to be very intentional in learning it. Now, the role of grammarian, I'm going to break it down into 2 parts as well. What you should do before the meeting, what you should do during the meeting. Before the meeting, what should you do as a grammarian? Grammarian, primarily, you are tasked with 3 responsibilities. The first one, the word of the day. You are clubs, I think they may have the VPE or Toastmaster if they do it, but generally speaking, it should be the grammarian. What's the essence of the word of the day? You are better equipped to improve your eloquence and be more articulate when you have more words in your arsenal to express yourself. The grammarian assists us to do this by introducing, please try not to get a word that is going to throw people so far off that you say, yes, I'm glad you did not know how the essence. The essence is to introduce people forward and you encourage them to do that. My preference is that you lean more towards positive words than negative words. I think that's my preference. I don't think there's actually a rule that states one or the other, but that's my preference. Remember, you're trying to introduce them to ideally a new word that they are going to be using going forward. You have the word of the day, examples. Depending on the type of meeting it is, you can either periodically put it in the chat box. I don't really encourage sharing the word of the day because when people are speaking, it's preferable that we get to see their face, their body language, which is a huge part of the speech. When you're meeting, you have it periodically put in the chat box so people are reminded that this is the word of the day and you should use it. For a physical meeting, it should be put up somewhere clearly, boldly. Let people see the word of the day. How can I utilize this word of the day? If you are the grammarian and you're picking a word that you are not familiar with, please try and get familiar with it. Remember, at Toastmasters, we're all here to learn and grow. If you choose the word, it is your responsibility to get really familiar with it. So when you're explaining it, you explain it properly. Note, this does not mean you should not pick words that you're unfamiliar with. No. It just means that if you are unfamiliar with the word, then really invest time to get familiar with the word. We do have to remind people that everyone is here to learn and grow. Because there are occasions where even though you've invested a lot of time to get familiar with it, you might still make mistakes. That's okay. The GE can clarify that, but do yourself the service as well as the audience of investing time to learn the word adequately so you can present it in a manner where people are better equipped to learn the word of the day. The second thing you do, pick our grammar is always changing, which means all of us here fine-tuning our grammar through reading, watching shows that properly articulate themselves when they're speaking, they're very eloquent. You have to be intentional in shows you use or choose to watch rather, and spend time with people that have a great grasp of grammar, just so you continue great elements of grammar that you observe during the course of the meeting. And you add to this quotes that you think are very powerful, great use of words that are maybe not commonplace, great use of diction, notes, if you know how to pick out these things. All of us are not so versed in all the elements that we can pinpoint everything. Some people are so much better, and that's fine. For some of us, we have one area of focus, and that's okay. Some of us, we have no area of focus, and that's okay. When you choose to play the role of grammarian, it's going to help you improve, and that is the focus. You want the audience to get better. You pinpoint things you can at the moment. If this is your level at today's meeting, by the time you play this role of grammarian next time, you should have grown, even if it's just one step, by virtue of what you did today. And that others, which many of us constantly feel, oh, I'm not as good at the role of grammarian. Then I challenge you that you are the one that needs to play the role of grammarian. You only get, if you're bad long enough and you keep practicing it, you get better. So if truly you claim you're so bad that you shouldn't play that role, then you're probably the person to play the role. That's the second part. And the final part, pick out poor use of grammar. Natural, great grammar even means in the first place. Poor use of grammar. Similarly, maybe observe that they actually misquoted someone, highlight that. The pronunciation, highlight that. Poor use of any form of grammar, maybe the tense was not matching whatever they said. Highlight all those things. How competent you are in executing your job. You may have this long list to read out or speak out when you're delivering your reports. Everything you do should be within the allotted time, which means if you are so good in your use of grammar, you need to pay attention to time and prioritize what you're going to say. You have 3 pages, but you're given 3 minutes. You cannot say everything. Whatever it is you feel were the most important things, please state those. Everything else can be given one-on-one after the meeting, so those individuals can get better. But don't say, no, I just have these things. It's too important. Let me. It doesn't matter what it is. It's not so important that you need to go overboard with the time. Give the feedback one-on-one afterwards if it's that important. Now, if you're not good enough to observe much, it is okay. It's a reminder that you still have a massive room to grow. And that is good. That is why we're here. That is why we paid to improve. And sometimes when we're not challenged that way, now, wow, I was here for 2 hours and I couldn't observe some things that I thought were really good and some things that I thought were poor. I need to grow. Sometimes we need that punch to our ego. So we go back and actually work on getting better. This is what the grammarian is responsible for. Before the meeting, prepare a brief your role entails. Highlighting the word of the day, good grammar, poor grammar, all within the allotted time. All this should be done before the meeting. Note that means you need to look at the agenda and know how much time you're giving for the introductory part at the beginning to explain your role and for your report at the very end. Know how much time you're given so you can give your report and give your introduction within that allotted time. Now, for the meeting, like when the general evaluator calls you up to explain your role, you come up and you briefly explain it within the maybe 2 minutes you are given. Very concise explanation of your role. Let them know that at the end of the meeting, you're going to come back. From the very start of the meeting, you are already listening to everything that was said. Not from the point when you're called up to explain your role. From the start of the meeting and you have the day, even though you've not explained to them or told them what the word of the day is, poor use of grammar. And you continue to do so to the very point where you're called up to deliver your report. When you are called up to deliver your report, you come up, you highlight the use of the word of the day, stating names and how many times they each use the word of the day. You will state how many times they correctly use the word of the day and how many times they incorrectly use the word of the day. And I like to encourage grammarians to state, I know not everyone does this, if they abuse of learning these new words, is so that we arm ourselves with new words that will help us be more eloquent and articulate when we speak. If we use the same word repeatedly, mundane and not as engaging. And when they do that in the meeting, table topics, 1 to 2 minutes, they use the same word about 10 times. I think they're abusing that word. And you need to encourage them as a grammarian. Please use variety. There are so many words you can utilize. Just because speaker, less engaging speaker. No. I like to highlight that the names, good use of the word of the day, how many times they use it, poor use of the word of the day, how many times they poorly use it. Good use of grammar state that give the names of people that actually did those. Not all of us are so aware that if you've been so nervous that when I was speaking, I blanked out. And by the time I came back to my seat, I had no idea. All those people that used the word wrongly or had poor grammar, they were all me. I have no clue. But when you mention my name, then I'm more aware and I say, oh, really? And hopefully I'll go back it is you've given. And finally, as a grammarian, if you have tips on how to improve certain weaknesses, give them if time permits. How to improve my grammar, how to have better quotes, how to have better diction, whatever tips you have that can help us improve, bathe it as the grammarian. Once you're done with your reports, except if time does not permit, you are done. Now, if time does not permit, oh, my voice keeps dragging. I'm so sorry. Maybe it's network. I hope you didn't miss too much. You get a chance to ask questions briefly. So if time does not permit, please give one-on-one feedback. And that's a brief summary. And I guess it's even it's more brief for you guys because the network probably didn't let you hear everything I was saying. If you have any questions, any comments regarding the role of grammarian, you can go ahead and ask. You can also verify on that if the network permits. So sorry about that. You can raise your hand. You can type in the chat box. Thank you so much, Toastmaster Chika, for bringing that to my attention. I wonder if someone's trying to reach me or something. Toastmaster Chika, if there were parts you missed, said regarding those parts. Okay, thank you so much for the clarification, Toastmaster Chika. Does anyone else have a question or comment regarding the role of grammarian or table topics master if something came to mind after we're done with that role earlier on? for those of you that just joined, we are already through. This starts at 9, and by 9:30 we're done. I apologize. We're trying to learn. We are done at the moment. It's 9:30. I didn't see any hands up, and I didn't see any questions in the chat box, although one has popped in now. Thank you so much, Toastmaster Larry. Toastmaster Larry asked the question, what if the synonym of the word of the day is used? Does that count? Toastmaster Larry, I think it depends on you as the grammarian. If, as the grammarian, you want people to utilize a specific word, then clarify that. And in that case, you capture every synonym that's used. You may have a very specific reason why you want them to use either the word or the synonyms. Does that clarify things? Larry? Toastmaster Lara, yes, you can actually get the recording. It's on YouTube. You can go there and search for the recording. Toastmaster Kudus, please, can you clarify the name where they can get it? Maybe you can type in the chat box. All this recording is all on YouTube. Toastmaster Kudus will type to clarify where they can get it. Okay, Toastmaster Kudus, were you saying something?
I just want to say I will drop the link to the playlist where all the
okay, thank you so much. Toastmaster Deborah, he's dropping the link so you can follow the link to see all the recordings. We are officially done for today. Thank you so much for joining. I encourage you to go and play those roles if you've never played them before, or if you've played them a long time ago. The best way to learn is by actually taking action. We are done for the day. We'll be back next week covering 2 roles. Once again, if you want to have an opportunity to improve your speaking, become better as a trainer, this platform is available. You can come to me. But today, we are done. Specifically, you are the one that needs to play them. We are done for the day. I'm going to attend to Toastmaster Chika's question. Toastmaster Chika is playing the role of timer on Sunday and wants to briefly get an explanation for that. Toastmaster Chika, are you going to play timer in a physical meeting, hybrid meeting, or virtual meeting? Hybrid meeting, great. Playing the role of timer in your club or a different club? Thank you so much. Okay, we're covering the role of timer in your club, and it's a hybrid meeting. The role of timer is one of the most important roles, as far as I'm concerned, for a Toastmasters meeting. You are involved in every single thing that is going on and ensuring that the entire meeting, actually by keeping us to time. Now, what are you going to do? 2 parts. Before the meeting, during the meeting, what does the timer do? Before the meeting, please, you, probably more than anyone else, barring maybe the Toastmaster of the day, you need to study the agenda. Know the time allotted to every single speaker and every role player. Why is this important? The yellow card and the red card for everyone that is going to speak at that meeting. When it's 2 minutes, when are you going to show the green card, the yellow card, the red card? If it's 4 minutes, when are you going to show the green card, yellow card, red card? If it's 7, the list goes on. Know exactly the timing for everything in the agenda for your meeting on Sunday. This is extremely important. Also, Toastmaster Chika, you would need to prepare your speech explaining the role of the timer. What exactly are you doing? Now, note, it's a hybrid meeting, you stated. Either you're going to have a backup timer that will be in the virtual space, or you need to know exactly how you're going to display your cards. People, what they'll do, they'll use the camera that is used for that meeting, the physical audience, to just go there and put their cards up there. Or they may use a laptop or phone, and also if it's for the virtual audience, or simply just have whoever they get as the second timer, meaning the person that is going to handle the virtual space. Over the camera, you're going to log in, laptop, phone, or you're going to have someone else playing the role of timer that will be in the virtual space. Very important, and this was decided the meeting itself. Please show up early. Very important. When the meeting starts, timer, please do not wait till you're introduced to start playing your role. Why is this important? Before the general evaluator comes up, we're going to have the sergeant at arms, the president, and the Toastmaster of the day generally come up to speak. If we had time allotment, total time allotment of about 10 minutes for the sergeant at arms, the president, and Toastmaster of the day, because the timer has not started doing their job, your 10 minutes could extend to 15, could extend to 20, 25, 30. At this point, some of you may think I'm being ridiculous, but some people can talk. And when you think they can just keep speaking without feeling as displaying the card, you cobble that and you help us to the best of the ability you have, keep within the allotted time. Please start your job from the very beginning, knowing when you're going to display the green card, your yellow card, and your red card. By the time the general evaluator is introduced and you're called up, come up and explain the role of the timer, the prepared speech that you already crafted beforehand, the importance of using time, how valuable it is. You now explain when you display your cards, green, yellow, and red. Note for that specific meeting. What do I mean? If we have an icebreaker marathon, meaning all our prepared speeches are icebreakers, 4 to 6 minutes. As the timer, there's no need to explain. And for a speech that is 5 to 7 minutes, I will show my green card at 5 minutes, yellow card at 6 minutes, red card at 7 minutes. That is a waste of time. Why? It is not going to happen at this meeting. Why are you telling us that? Tell us what is relevant to this meeting, which is why you should have studied in advance the timing for everything that is going to take place at this meeting. It is for those green card when it is 5 minutes, yellow when it is 6 minutes, red, for speeches that will occur at that meeting. If we don't have table topics, there's no need to say, and for table topics, I will show the green card at 1 minute, the yellow card at 1 minute, 30 seconds, and the red card at 2 minutes. No need. Only explain your timing for what is going to take place at the meeting today. I cannot stress the importance of this enough. Let us not waste this precious resource called time. Once you're done with your introduction, you hand control back to the general evaluator and go back and continue doing your job as the timer. Note, if you're playing the role of timer, if you're skilled enough, so you also keep within time, or better yet, delegate that responsibility to someone else to be the timer for you when you are speaking. Not many people do this. Please, if you're playing the role, I highly encourage that you do this when you are the timer. A few things to know during meetings. Many of us in our clubs, we vote. Maybe the best prepared speech for the day, best prepared speech speaker, best table topic speaker, best evaluator. It depends on your club. Thankfully, it is your own club. You're playing the role of timer, Toastmaster, so you know what you do. After every segment that you are going to vote for, give your evaluators keep to time. Ideally, whoever is in charge would ask, timer, did all the speakers keep to time? Did all the evaluators keep to time? Then you give feedback. It doesn't always happen. In case they forget, not all the speakers kept time. Speaker 3, Toastmaster John, did not keep time. And we're not going to be able to vote for him for this portion of the meeting. You would need to give info, very important. Outside of that, you just time regularly and ensure you display your card at the right time. Now note, for the virtual space, similar to how I had some network issues this evening, because you're not sure if you have network issues, I encourage that when you are going to display the green card, maybe 1 minute, at about 56, 57 seconds, that's when you put up the green card in the virtual space, allowing for that network glitch before the card shows. That will enable the person that is speaking, hopefully, that's for the virtual space. If you are displaying it, being more aware of the network glitch that can happen. Outside of that, by the time the entire meeting is done, you will now come back and give your report. At many meetings, unfortunately, if time is not properly controlled, is the one in charge, may say the timer already gave final report to save time. I don't recommend that, regardless of how many times they gave feedback. Why? Because every role you play is an opportunity to deliver a speech. When you come to give your final report, you're giving a speech. Please give a speech, your introduction, body, and conclusion. Toastmaster Hioma, do you mind muting your device? Toastmaster Hioma, please, do you mind muting your device? Thank you. The timer come with a speech. You have an introduction, you give the report. If you've already given report for every segment, do a quick summary of the reports. Maybe just state everyone kept to time, except these people, state that. And you can give some tips for enabling people better stick to the time that has been allotted for their own speech or evaluation. And then you have a conclusion. Once that is done, your job as that timer concluded, and you are done for down. please continue timing. Many times the timer, once they deliver their report, they think, I'm done. Let me go and relax. The meeting is not over. We still have, depending on how the general evaluator introduced the team members, you may still have some other team members after you. Have the general evaluator reports. So is going to come back. The president is over time. You've done such a splendid job at the beginning. Once you stop doing your job after the meeting that was to end a bit in advance, may go 5, 10, 15, 20 minutes overboard. And you do not want that to happen. Deliver your reports, but continue doing your job till the very end to ensure that we have the best quality meeting we can have, but the meeting that you're playing the role of time. Toastmaster Chika, does that help in any way? Thank you so much. Our area director mentioned that you can also go to the Toastmasters International website, and they have a lot of resources that will help you as well. Please make sure that you have your timing device, you have your cards readily available, and decide in advance if you're going to get someone in the virtual space or if you're going to log in yourself or use the cards over the camera. Please know so you're not confused and rushing and you feel very thrown off at your meeting on Sunday. I'm sure you're going to do a fantastic job. We are done with that. I don't know if anyone has, for other roles outside of what we've covered, any other thing someone here wants to ask or give a comment on regarding the role they are playing. Maybe tomorrow, Sunday, Monday. Fantastic. I don't see any hands. Oh, new message has dropped. Let's see if there's a comment. Okay. We are done, Toastmasters. Thank you for your time. I love when I see people coming here because personally, I know people here are not forced to be here. I believe people here are not forced to be here. Neither. Do not come here, listen to all we have to say, the comments, and then the movies, gone to eat, gone to sleep, rather than come here. After listening to all this, please go play the role in your club. If you get too comfortable, go to other clubs. The beauty of this virtual and hybrid space now is you can visit clubs all and you enhance the quality of that club's meeting. Simply that variety alone makes it more interesting for people. So please do not waste your time by just coming to listen. Put what you've learned into action sooner rather than later. I hope we all have a fantastic weekend. And if the roles are useful for you next week, Friday, then I'll see you next week, Friday as well. Thank you so much, everyone. You are most welcome. Tessie, I'm glad that it was always a pleasure to see you here. Thank you, everyone, for coming. Enjoy the rest of your evening. Take care. You're welcome, Toastmaster Kelvin.